President Biden heading to Europe later this week for a three-country tour, trying to rally support for NATO as Russia's war in Ukraine drags on. The president will spend the bulk of his trip at a 5-day NATO summit in Lithuania. He'll also travel to Helsinki to commemorate Finland's entry into the NATO alliance. But first, he's stopping in the UK to meet with King Charles and British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Let's dive into this with author and Princeton's political science professor, Lauren Wright. Lauren, there is so much to unpack here ahead of this trip. The primary focus of Biden's trip this week is that NATO conference in Lithuania. But what is hoped to come of these meetings?
Well, there's a few different goals. There are policy goals that are very serious. Shoring up support for Ukraine is definitely one of the top ones. We're not in sort of a situation where NATO doesn't have anything to talk about international conflict wise. It's a very, very serious time. And so I'm sure that will be the main discussion, is about Russia and Ukraine. But then there's a lot of side goals, I would say. And so the trip to the UK beforehand, especially the appearance with King Charles, while it's ceremonial, will get a lot of attention. Yeah. And so it's impossible to look at this European trip outside the context of the presidential race, which Joe was just talking about, because it's one of the best opportunities for Biden to get press coverage of his leadership capability.
Right. And when you say, Lauren, when you say shoring up support for Ukraine in the ongoing war, and especially after the uprising that we all witnessed last weekend from the Wagner Group, will anything actually concrete come of that? I mean, what do we need to actually see or hear in regards to support for Ukraine?
I mean, usually in these summits, you don't see something concrete immediately. You see either a discussion that's been ongoing, finished up, or you see perhaps some new ideas that get fleshed out. Some of the most serious things that get talked about at NATO summits are new country memberships. But, you know, I think the UK relationship in particular is very important, because up until a month ago, the UK was much more supportive, by some measures, more aggressive than we were on military support, weapons support for Ukraine. And they still have very high support for the aid of Ukraine among all three of their major political parties. That's a little different than we have here in the U.S. We're sort of split now in our political parties as far as what people think of the war. So there is a lot to talk about.
In that meeting in the UK, as we mentioned, the president will be meeting with King Charles while he's there. President Biden was not in attendance for his coronation. We know that the First Lady was sent there. What do you expect the two of them to really discuss?
Gosh, you know, I don't know. It is the special relationship. Yes, King Charles's powers are ceremonial, but Biden does have a pretty long-standing relationship with him from his own time in government. And so, you know, really there's this fascination with the royal family that we have here in the US. And so it's probably more ceremonial than anything, if I had to guess. But Americans watch those appearances closely, perhaps even more closely than the international relations.
I think a lot of people
will be going on in Lithuania.
Yeah. And last, you know, I do want to make one more point about, though, with just a few seconds left, Helsinki joining NATO. How big of a deal is that? How consequential?
I think that is a very big deal. You know, Sweden also wants to join, but they need unanimous support from the 31 member countries, and they don't have that right now from Hungary, for instance, which is opposed to this. And so I do think it's important, both for countries that want to be part of NATO in the future, and as a historic moment, for sure. You're right.
Well, we'll be watching this closely as President Biden heads there at week's end. Lauren Wright, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thanks, Marky.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.